Welcome to France, a country whose waterways have played a major role in its history and its evolution. Among France's hundreds of canals and rivers, only one truly stands out because of its importance. Long and beautiful, the Seine River is considered to be a pivotal part of the creation of France's capital, Paris. The Seine is the uncontested queen of the waterways. She is a feeding source for some, a mode of transportation for others, and divine inspiration for many artists. The Seine and its 777 kilometers interconnect this country's largest cities. She winds her way along the countryside, and her charm and charisma are undeniable. All who navigate the unique Seine feel a sense of privilege as they travel deep into the heart of the country through this waterway. It is aboard the Croise Europe cruise ship company's MS Botticelli that we will navigate along this historic river. This small vessel was built especially for river cruises. It first saw the light of day in 2004 and underwent a complete renovation in 2010. The craft stretches 100 meters in length, with 75 cabins that can accommodate a total of 150 passengers. Dream Cruises would like to welcome you aboard this modern and comfortable ship as we embark on a tour of one of the most beautiful waterways in Europe, the Seine River. Our intimate cruise along the Seine will soon take us to some of France's most beautiful cities, including Paris, Les Andelys, Rouen, Caudebec-en-Caux, and Enfleur. The long-awaited moment has finally arrived. We are about to board the ship that will become our enchanted floating home for this unforgettable voyage. As soon as we embark, we are instantly charmed by the staff's warm welcome. The size of a ship always plays a determining role in the way its crew interacts with passengers. This particular cruise promises to be very intimate, courteous, and pleasant. Now that we've registered on board, a crew member kindly offers to accompany us to our room. This attention to detail is, needless to say, most appreciated. The rooms aboard this ship are very pleasant indeed. The big star of this cruise is the river. A large window located next to the bed offers us a most amazing view, night and day. Every imaginable luxury has been considered to make sure our trip is a perfect one. With our luggage put away, it is now time for us to make our way to the second level to meet the rest of the crew and the other passengers who will accompany us on this cruise. As is the rule for all great cruises, the ship's captain takes a few moments to meet us and to introduce his team. Let the cruise officially begin. It is now time for us to partake of the festivities and fun. The next few days shall be dedicated to our discovery of the Seine and the many points of interest along its banks. We've spent our first night aboard the MS Botticelli. Because she is still docked at port, this morning we are in the heart of the action, smack dab in the middle of Paris. From the Grenelle dock, where we are anchored, we are able to see one of the most amazing scenes that would make the cover of any tourism guide. The day is sure to be an exciting one, as we'll be spending it here, in the heart of the City of Lights. The Grenelle dock is located in the 15th arrondissement of Paris. Its neighbor, the 7th arrondissement, is found on the left bank. Today, we will be visiting these two arrondissements. We are now ready to set off and meet a pair of historic Parisian landmarks. The first landmark is the one that first greeted us earlier in the day, La Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower. Gustave Eiffel probably never thought his tower would attract so much attention when it was being built in 1887. The Eiffel Tower has so far been visited by 250 million people. Panned by some, worshipped by others, the 324-meter tower leaves no one indifferent. During its construction, the country's greatest artists publicly ridiculed this work of art. Verlaine dismissed it as a belfry skeleton. Guy de Maupassant, for his part, was even more critical, describing it as a pyramid of steel ladders, a disgraceful skeleton best suited for steel plant smokestacks. Despite the criticism, Gustave Eiffel successfully responded to his many detractors and built what would become the City of Lights' symbol of excellence. The best way to appreciate the tower is to reach the summit. It is from here that one can totally take in the magic and splendor of Paris. There are countless points of interest to observe from here. There's the Arc de Triomphe, the Champs-Élysées, Notre Dame Cathedral, Les Invalides, the Louvre, in fact, just about every place recommended by the best travel guides. We are now ready to set off and find our second great landmark of the day. Between the 15th and 16th arrondissement lies a man-made island that divides the Seine in two. Connected by three splendid bridges, the small narrow island, l'Île des Cygnes, is very popular among strollers and joggers. At one end of the island stands our second majestic landmark. She almost seems to be looking off in the direction of her older sister in New York City. At first glance, she looks like a replica, but if you look closer, you will see that this statue is more than just a copy. The Statue of Liberty on Île des Cygnes is made of molten bronze, based on the model by sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, who created this masterpiece before designing the more famous one in New York City. This statue is, in fact, the inspiration behind the Statue of Liberty in the Big Apple. Much smaller in size, this Statue of Liberty has stood on this spot since its international unveiling in 1889, much like the Eiffel Tower. These two Parisian landmarks are very popular. Linked by several bridges, they attract hundreds of visitors all day long. An evening cruise along the Seine is considered the best way to fully appreciate this site and its surrounding attractions. Luckily for us, we'll be able to take in all that the City of Lights has to offer once the sun sets. We are now headed east. One of the first sights that we get to admire along the Parisian landscape is the legendary First Lady, the Eiffel Tower. It's easy to recognize the tower from our ship, and yet it's like we're discovering her for the first time. Projectors highlight the tower's unique architectural features. New technologies allow for the tower's splendor to be in full view, while reducing the consumption of electricity. This is a far cry from 1889, when more than 10,000 gas lamps were used to light up the Eiffel Tower. Expect a few strained necks when you tour along the Seine. From the left and from the right banks, the scenery is breathtaking. You don't want to miss a thing. Even Paris's bridges offer spectacular sights. Each bridge offers its own nighttime characteristics, each poetically blending these two banks. Our unforgettable nocturnal tour is accompanied by a delicious meal, served in the company of celebrated scenery, sights and sounds, and a most romantic ambiance. This is indeed a perfect night. Duck confit, fresh vegetables, accompanied by a glass of red wine. Could our first official night in Paris along the Seine get any more special? The dessert is the icing on the cake. An oven-baked apple pastry and coffee, right here in the middle of the Seine, while taking in the scenery. This is the jackpot. Paris, the city of lights, carries its name well. We've left the City of Lights to continue our discovery of the many points along the Seine and its surroundings. We are leaving France's current political capital to make our way to this country's former capital. From Paris, we are heading towards Conflans-Sainte-Honorine, a small community located along the edge of the Seine. Our stopover today is one accentuated by royalty. That's because we are about to visit one of the world's most prestigious castles, the Palace of Versailles. While the captain slowly brings the Botticelli into the dock for the day, we get to enjoy a delicious breakfast in the dining hall. It's not easy to concentrate on our plates when we get to feast our eyes on the view through the dining room's big windows. The scenery is beyond splendid. Over on the horizon, we can already catch a glimpse of the small community. It is only fitting that our royal stopover be characterized by the best service possible. We are given hearing guides to help us get the most of the day's visit. Thanks to these gadgets, we will learn the full history of the world-famous Palace of Versailles. We reach the impressive front gate of the castle, and that's when we get to really appreciate the full, grandiose extent of the place. It is very clear that a powerful monarchy once reigned here. It is a feast for the eyes. Versailles encompasses two very distinct time periods, both marked by two of the most influential kings of France. The first was King Louis XIII. We have him to thank for the initial designs of the castle, as well as its first buildings. In the beginning, Louis XIII wanted to build a quiet hunting refuge. This is a king who suffered from agoraphobia. He shunned public places and hated crowds. His quest was to find a quiet, spiritual place to retreat into himself. And thus, his modest hunting refuge was born. At the time, the small castle was indeed quite small. The king's hunting retreat quickly became known as the undersized castle and the Castle of Cards. Along came the son of Louis XIII. Louis XIV decided to completely renovate the castle. And so it was that the little refuge would emerge into the royal Palace of Versailles, where Louis XIV would live with his family and his royal entourage. In no time, the site of hunting escapades became a place for important royal decisions, and Versailles soon underwent a change of vocation, becoming the country's central political hub. And that is how the current palace was created and built. kings at the time worked a lot harder than we can imagine. At least this was the case for Louis XIV, who was known as a workaholic. It is for this reason that, contrary to popular belief, the king did not make all of his important decisions in his royal palace, but rather from within the confines of his personal chambers. The most important room in the castle and in the country was, in fact, the king's bedroom. Meanwhile, the surrounding rooms were used to carry out a variety of daily political functions. One room was used to receive the king's subjects. Another served as a dining room for the royal family. And one was the private chambers for Queen Marie-Thérèse of Austria. It is in this room that the king carried out one of his most important duties, guaranteeing future heirs to the throne. It is a duty that the king mastered very well, providing France with 6 possible royal heirs. Tragically for the royal couple, only one of their 6 children would live to see adulthood. For Louis XIV, Versailles was to feature the most beautiful exhibit hall in all of France. The Hall of Mirrors is by far the most spectacular hall in the palace, and certainly best captures the vision set out by the king. Louis XIV knew full well that all of the guests who were invited to the palace had to pass through the Hall of Mirrors. In selecting it as the most prestigious room in the palace, the king could showcase all of his kingdom's riches and knowledge. With 357 mirrors, 17 arches, huge windows, impressive ceiling paintings that fully visually honor the king and his accomplishments, and sculptures and statues of all kinds, this room was a museum unto itself. Visiting this 73-meter-long corridor, that's the length of about 3 tennis courts, can take a day or longer, especially if you take the time to admire every detail. The view of the royal gardens from the gallery is so inviting that one is tempted to simply get lost in its splendor and beauty. In the first incarnation of the palace, when its main vocation was dedicated to hunting, a huge forest surrounded the walls of Versailles. One can easily imagine the plentiful supply of wild game and the many successful hunting parties hosted by King Louis XIII. When Louis XIV took over the palace, he transformed the forest into a sprawling, beautiful garden. And the results are truly remarkable. Visitors need several hours or even a full day to really take in this stunning garden. It's definitely a case of love at first sight. The view from the Versailles terrace is impressive. The gardens, walkways, fountains, even the sculptures. It's easy to see why it took more than 40 years to create this immense work of art. We now reboard the ship from another dock. The meandering Seine River allows us to change ports, meaning less time wasted along the way. We are now in Mantes-la-Jolie, and the ship is headed for its next destination, Rouen. On the menu this evening, navigation, relaxation, and of course, fine dining. For the first part of today, we set sail in the direction of Rouen. We've got plenty of free time in front of us, so we gladly accept an invitation by the gym trainer to indulge in some healthy exercise on the sun deck. It's a great way to start your morning, and you know you're in good hands with our trainer. What better way to get the day started while admiring the scenery that unfolds around you? This part of the Seine features plenty of vegetation and a steady stream of scenic villages. We are now sailing past the village of Saint-Pierre-du-Vauvray. The houses that sit on the edge of the stone banks are surrounded by dense vegetation and are simply magnificent. We are told that the people who live in these houses use the cliffs as additional rooms. The caves are then used to store vegetables or are used as cold rooms and even wine cellars. There are many famous houses in this region. We can see one of them now, the former residence of Louis Renault, the pioneer car maker. Today, the house no longer belongs to the Renault family. That's because there are reports that it was sold for the very modest sum of 1.8 million euros. Our ship is nearing a set of locks. While the ship crew carries out its maneuvers, we decide to stop looking at the amazing scenery and focus on some other splendors, the ones sitting on our plates. Today we are treated to a 3-course meal accompanied by red wine. It's a Bourgogne or a Beaujolais, depending on your favorite wine region. The chef and his team have prepared a delicious rustic smoked ham appetizer. The main course features a sublime fillet of salmon. And to close off this great lunch, a tasty tiramisu. We may be in the middle of the Seine, but we get to enjoy some succulent dining courtesy of our chef and his team. The ship arrives at its next destination just as we are finishing our delicious meal. It is now almost time to discover one of the most famous cities of France, Rouen. Rouen is a charming community located along the right bank of the Seine. And as we shall soon see, the city's history runs very deep. Our visit today will be conducted entirely on foot, and it is for this reason that Rouen continues to be so popular in France. Rouen became the first community to include pedestrian streets in its urban plans. The idea was born after the mayor returned from a trip to Denmark when he decided to introduce car-free streets. In 1971, Rue du Gros Horloge was inaugurated, making it the first ever pedestrian-only street in France. Today, Rouen boasts more than 6 kilometers of streets dedicated solely to pedestrians. As we walk along this street, we find ourselves in a square where one of the most important historical events in the history of Rouen occurred. We are in the Old Market Square. It is a magnificent place. We see several half-timbered houses, as well as a charming market whose roof looks like an ocean's waves. But as we stand in the middle of the square, we get a strange sense that a tragic incident once occurred here. It is in this very spot that Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, was burned alive. She was condemned to death for heresy after a trial that lasted 3 months and was burned at the stake. Her guilty verdict came with a barbaric death sentence not uncommon for that time period. The cardinal at the time was intent on discouraging all posthumous memorials. He thus ordered 3 cremations, one causing her death, another to burn her remains, and a final one to make sure no ashes were left behind. Unfortunately for the hapless cardinal, the life and courage of Joan of Arc are still commemorated to this day. In fact, there are several commemorations made in her honor in the worst place the cardinal could ever imagine, Rouen Cathedral. This is the most prestigious monument in the city. It was the focus of Impressionist painter Claude Monet, who completed no less than 30 paintings to honor this asymmetrical Gothic monument. It is not exactly known when construction of the cathedral began. All we know is that around the year 1000, construction was more structured and catalogued. 200 years later, after a fire, official documents detailing the construction of this ambitious project were finally found. Records would reveal more than 30 architects and builders were involved during the cathedral's 700-year construction period. Inside, the scene is so surreal and powerful that it feels like we've just entered Ken Follett's novel, The Pillars of the Earth. The cathedral's nave is composed of 11 spans and seems to touch the sky. 28 meters high, it was built according to classic Gothic architecture. The height of these narrow walls gives it a stern appearance, making the altar an impressive focal point. The story of Joan of Arc and her detractors is directly linked to this historic place of worship. Several sections of the cathedral carry Joan of Arc's name, including the largest bell in the church. Inside one of the adjacent chapels can be found the tombstones for various canons, including Denis Gastonel, one of the judges who sent Joan of Arc to her death. Outside, the cathedral is surrounded by tiny, narrow streets, which add to the towering presence of this historic building. Rouen streets were once known for their bad reputation. At one time, they had very gruesome names. Rue Coupe-Gorge, or Cutthroat Street, for example. It was named so after a number of grisly incidents where robbers would randomly attack people on the street before slicing their throats. Luckily for us, the streets today are much safer, and we can use them to calmly make our way back to the Botticelli. It's time for happy hour on the ship, and we have a rendezvous with the recreation and leisure team. It's time to relax and enjoy some games. Times have changed since the days of Joan of Arc. A public execution was once considered a leisurely event. Today, that's been replaced by board games. Indeed, we much prefer games like bingo as we cruise along the Seine. We have just left the city of Rouen. Yesterday's stopover was most enjoyable, and what a treat it was to visit one of the most beautiful cities in France. The sun is beginning to rise as we begin our long journey to our next destination, Caudebec-en-Caux. The start of today's trip means we get to pass through one of this country's major ports. The port of Rouen is blessed with being in a strategic geographical location. Situated halfway between Paris and the estuary that leads to the Atlantic Ocean, this navigational deep water zone is able to accommodate very large ships. This part of our cruise puts everything in perspective. The Seine is indeed an important river, not only for France's tourism industry, but also for marine navigation in general. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, the industrial version of the Seine turns into the panoramic river we've come to visit. The massive container ships have made way for ferry boats, allowing the locals to cross from one bank to the other without any difficulty. This also allows us to move from one side to the other with great ease, making our scenic tour that much more enjoyable. Comfortably seated in the main hall, we are treated with a feast for the eyes as we see the beautiful panoramic scenery unfold before us. What's a real vacation without a good book to read during our moments of R&R? This is the life. We spend the rest of the day admiring the two banks, reading a page or two, and finding a 50-letter word at Scrabble. While we get to relax, a crew member keeps a watchful eye on the river's banks, the horizon, weather conditions, and even the foot of the river. It's time to learn a thing or two about navigation. The captain has invited a few passengers to visit the ship's command post. This is cutting-edge technology at work.
Ça, c'est le cerveau du bateau. Lui, il sent si le bateau il va à droite ou s'il va à gauche. Donc, je donne des degrés.
We are in the land of detail and precision, where everything is calculated and applied. The captain's job is assisted by a number of sophisticated tools of the navigation trade. An experienced captain, however, must be ready to face the unknown at all times, and that includes power failures. That is why a good captain must perfectly master the technique known as sight navigation. It always helps to have a good set of binoculars on hand. Another important person on board is the head chef. He, too, must rely on his instincts to make sure everyone is happy. As we return to our table in the main dining hall, we can already notice that the culinary team's efforts are a success. The inviting aromas wafting in the room promise us a fine meal indeed. The next stop along our cruise can be found inside the ship, right on our plates. While we feast on our dinner, the captain continues to man the ship, taking us to our next destination, Caudebec-en-Caux. Morning arrives, and we have already docked at Caudebec-en-Caux. Our very own private bus is waiting to take us on our next exciting excursion. Our day will be one of spiritual reflection. That's because we will be visiting two of the region's biggest abbeys. The first abbey is fascinating. At first glance, this place of worship may seem ordinary. But as we enter further, that is when we are blessed with a big surprise. This place is a lot bigger than we had first imagined. It is only upon closer examination that we realize we've entered some historic ruins. Even if we knew this beforehand, we still managed to get fooled. Today we are visiting the most beautiful ruins in all of France. Founded in the middle of the 7th century, this abbey carries a troubled past. It may have grown rapidly in the beginning, but it was destroyed by the most fearless warriors of the time, the Vikings. Known for their violent raids, the Vikings destroyed almost everything in their path. The monks had no choice but to abandon the abbey for a dozen years. It took time to bring the abbey back to life. In fact, it would require another several hundred years for it to be completely restored to its original form. Times were good for the abbey as the community became more active and its heritage grew, with many years of steady development. More buildings were added, along with stunning chapels. Progress was moving forward. But then the French Wars of Religion struck in the early 16th century, and the abbey took another direct hit. Pillaging, fire, and chaos ensued. Once again, the monks found themselves homeless, penniless, and stripped of all their belongings. This latest tragedy would leave the community without an official church. The site was then repeatedly sold, the buildings partially demolished, and the abbey property would then be turned into a rock quarry. In 1852, the local Lepel-Cointet family finally came along and purchased the land and began preserving the site. The church has Victor Hugo to thank for turning its fortunes around. That's because Hugo described the abbey as being more beautiful than Tournou, which was quite a landmark reference. Today, everyone can agree that Jumièges is the most beautiful ruins in all of France. The Jumièges Abbey wasn't the only victim of pillaging and wars. Saint-Vendry Abbey certainly saw her fair share of misery. Founded in 649, Saint-Vendry was ravaged by the Vikings, the Huguenots, the French Wars of Religions, and the French Revolution. Unlike Jumièges, Vendry was able to bounce back after each attack and survived many tumultuous periods to become known today as one of the most prestigious historic monuments in France for more than 100 years. Just like this statue of a pelican feeding its young, Vendry's community has long been known to keep a watchful eye over its abbey. Today, life here is calm and prosperous, a peace felt both inside and outside these historic walls. We are very lucky indeed. A monk who lives inside the abbey has agreed to let us inside the doors of Charente so that we may have a quick peek inside the courtyard. This is a very rare privilege. We get the chance to see the library, as well as the Grace Pavilion. The doors close quickly, and we are very aware of the rare opportunity we've just been given. We are very happy to have seen a hidden face of this most splendid historic monument. It's time to leave the abbey and return to the ship, where a special gala evening awaits us. Tonight, we've been invited to enjoy our last official dinner aboard this dream cruise. The chef is determined to put on a show as he decides to personally introduce the amazing dinner that we will enjoy.
Soirée de gala, dîner de gala. Ce soir, nous servirons donc comme entrée un foie gras de canard avec un caramel au calvados et une brioche à navette.
The starter is a foie gras with Calvados-flavored caramel. Followed by the main dish of veal served with tarragon sauce. Next on the menu, we will enjoy a maroilles pastry on a bed of salad. Maroilles is a local cheese made in an abbey that bears the same name. The dessert is not only a classic, but also spectacular, a baked Alaska. Tradition dictates that the dessert must be sprinkled with Grand Marnier before being flambéed. This beautiful culinary scene sets the stage for the upcoming night. Tomorrow morning, we set sail for our next destination, Enfleur. But for now, it's time to celebrate. Our ship is now docked in the port of Enfleur. Today, we are looking at 3 possible options. They include a tour of the site of the historic Normandy invasion, a walk along the Côte Fleurie, a beautiful green and flowered route, or simply an open tour. We decide to go for the last option, an open tour of the charming community of Enfleur. With only about 8,500 citizens, Enfleur is primarily known for its magnificent port that stands in the Seine estuary. In this town, it's all about the sea and its popular myths. During a stroll to the local pubs, art galleries, and restaurants, we are met by several one-legged pirates who do their best to lure us inside. Enfleur is also well known for a very popular maritime personality. But we're not talking about a pirate this time. He's a famous explorer. Samuel de Champlain set sail from Honfleur in 1608 and founded the very first town in North America, a place by the name of Quebec City. No doubt, Champlain exported much of Honfleur's architectural skills to his new city. Tourists from Quebec City who arrive in Enfleur might get a sense of déjà vu, and it's perfectly understandable. The buildings that line these tiny and narrow streets are almost a mirror image of historic Quebec City. Architecture isn't the only magic of Enfleur. Its streets are also filled with talented artists and craftsmen. It's time to shop for a few souvenirs and local products. And what a perfect place to spend some time and get that perfect gift. Fine chocolates, Calvados, cider, it's a shopper's paradise. How about a visit to one of the many art galleries in Old Enfleur? A painting by a local artist would make a great souvenir. The crew of the MS Botticelli is about to give us a gift that we might not be able to bring back home, but which will perfectly crown our last official gathering. We will not be sleeping on the ship this evening. After this farewell cocktail, we will hit the road in search of new and fun adventures. Right now, it's time for the big farewell show. The ship's crew has decided to entertain us with a special folk show starring La Morelle, a troupe from Normandy. With the music of Normandy filling the air, we bid farewell to the Seine and the mighty MS Botticelli.